Translator's note. Soami Ji's Sar Bachan poetry is one of the key written works used by the masters of the Radha Swami Satsang Beas to explain the teachings of the mystics. In the late 19th century, Swami Ji used to give discourses in Agra from the Adi Granth, a scripture he had been familiar with since childhood. His followers were mostly Hindi speakers and did not understand the language of the Granth Sahib. At their repeated requests, Swami Ji composed Sar Bachan poetry in a language they could understand, with similes and metaphors they could relate to. Swami Ji wrote his shabads with a simple clarity, logic, and poetic flow that would appeal to the whole range of people in his audience. Though fluent in Persian, Hindi, Punjabi, and the earlier dialects of the Adi Granth, he communicated the teachings of Sant Mat in ordinary, everyday, colloquial Hindustani, interspersed with Punjabi words from his Punjabi background. Through the simplicity of his language and style, the span of his vision and depth of his understanding of the philosophy of Surat Shabad become transparently clear. The selection of poems in this volume focus on essential Sant Mat. The poems deal with the disciples' practical experience of walking the path. They address the challenges we face and the means we have been given to fight the battle with the mind. They guide us how, on a daily basis, we can develop our relationship with the Shabad Master within and prepare ourselves to return home with him. Only a few examples of poems dedicated largely to the inner regions have been included in the selection, because this aspect of the path is academic for most disciples. Very few of Swami Ji's poems conform to one subject or follow a particular sequence. Mostly, the shabads start with one topic and flow naturally into others. There is no rigid categorization possible, although the poems have been loosely organized by subject since the original edition. The Guru is a river that flows in whichever direction he likes. He is free, he has no limitations or boundaries. His poems are like a wave. You can't restrict them and you can't predetermine their shape. Typically, humans like to categorize and put boundaries on everything, even on the mystics, their teachings, their love, their mauj. Footnote. Literally, a wave, a surge of deep emotion, ecstasy, delight. Maharaj Charan Singh used to say that mauj is untranslatable, but his sweet will approximates it. End footnote. Everything the mystics do, their poetry included, is like a bird in flight enjoying its freedom, riding the wind. Swami Ji speaks in different voices in his poems, sometimes as the master, sometimes as the disciple, sometimes as the Lord, Radha Swami. As Guru Nanak says in the Adi Granth, he himself is Satguru, he himself is disciple, he himself the one who created the creation. When he speaks on behalf of the Creator, Swami Ji speaks as the Supreme Lord Radha Swami, who has created this entire play out of a single drop of the boundless ocean that he is. When he speaks as the Master, he reveals the inner mysteries, instructing, exhorting, and encouraging us in our real work. Speaking as the disciple, he begs the Master to shower his grace and reveal his real form, his Shabad form, and take us home. Swami Ji is pragmatic. He knows that we don't know who the Master is or what our real home is like. He teaches over and over that we should go on with meditation, seva, and satsang. These are the things that will enable us to experience reality for ourselves. words and emotion need to be channelized into devotion, into the actionless action of sitting still in body and mind and listening to the inner sound. Whether he plays the role of disciple, master, or Lord, Swamiji's message is clear. Arrange your life so you devote yourself to the practice of Shabad. Pierce the inner sky and enter the worlds of spirit. Know the truth and experience eternal bliss. Key expressions. Swamiji's poems are better understood if one is familiar with certain terms and phrases that he would, in his day, have discussed and explained during his discourses. Though their deeper esoteric meaning can only be understood in the company of a living master, it may be helpful to discuss here the significance of some of these key terms. The word saint has a particular meaning in the context of Swamiji's poems. In the Western world, the word saint means a person who has been officially canonized by the Church in recognition of an exemplary life of self-sacrifice and dedication to God. The connotation in Sant Mat literature is quite different. Sant, the word from which it is translated, means a mystic of the highest order. In the Nam Bhakti tradition, Sant specifically denotes a God-realized mystic who has attained the region of eternity or pure spirit, Sachkhand. To remind the reader of its particular meaning, in this translation of Sar Bachan, we have capitalized the word saint throughout. The expression feet of the master, meaning shelter or refuge, and surrendering at the master's feet, conveying humility and submission, is easy for most people to relate to. The idea of putting the master's feet in one's heart, however, may seem odd if not absurd, especially to the Western mind. Yet it is a key expression of Swamiji's, to which many other terms, such as inner master, Shabad form, lotus feet, and concepts like Guru Bhakti, Darshan, Dhyan, detachment, and so on, are closely related. At the time of initiation, the master places his Shabad form, called the radiant form, in the spiritual heart of the disciple. In the course of the disciple's inner evolution, this form manifests itself within at the 8-petaled lotus, a microcosmic center on the astral plane. To become absorbed in this form is what the devotional poets really mean when they speak of taking refuge in the lotus feet. Saints tell us that the rays of light or the currents of energy flowing from those feet so entrance the soul that it is irresistibly attracted to them. Drinking or imbibing the nectar flowing from the master's feet, enshrining the master's feet in one's heart, or bathing in the misty light, dust of those feet are all spontaneous expressions of love for the master. In the Ramcharitmanas, Goswami Tulsidas says, "Contemplation on my Guru's toenails, which shine like jewels, fills my heart with heavenly light." Eventually, the radiant Shabad form of the Master appears within in full splendor and leads the soul into the higher worlds. Truth is said to be stranger than fiction. It is no surprise if to a non-initiate, Sant Mat appears stranger than the 1001 Arabian Nights. A highly significant term in Swamiji's writings is Guru Bhakti, or devotion to the Master. When Swamiji says that unless a disciple completes Guru Bhakti, his soul cannot enter the higher regions, he is not talking of service to the physical master. What he means is that unless the disciple devotes himself to the spiritual discipline taught by the master in the physical form, he cannot make contact with the master's radiant form. It is devotion to the radiant form that ultimately enables the soul to be raised to the higher regions. Darshan is another term with deeper significance than is commonly understood. When Swami Ji says that the master's darshan detaches the devotee's mind from the world, he refers to the master's inner darshan, his real darshan, the darshan of his radiant form, through which one transcends the eight-petaled lotus. All destiny or fate pralabdha karmas operate from the eight-petaled lotus downwards. Although a certain degree of temporary detachment from the world may be possible through willpower and auto-suggestion, real detachment, freedom from the pairs of opposites and the ups and downs of life, comes only by transcending the eight-petaled lotus, where one's fate karmas are stored. When Swami Ji says, "Cut away the gross bonds of the world through Guru Bhakti," he is asking us to rise above the physical bonds of fate karmas by attaching ourselves to the inner master. Maharaj Charan Singh used to say, "Only attachment causes detachment." Presentation of text. This English translation of Sar Bachan poetry takes the form of a three-language presentation. The original Hindi is given in Devanagari script, with a Romanized version for Hindi speakers who do not read Devanagari. The first line of each poem acts as the title, both in the English translation and in the transliteration. These are the titles listed in the table of contents and the index of Hindi first lines. Line numbers are given for all three versions, linking corresponding lines in the Devanagari, the Romanized text, and the English translation. Sources for each poem, generally bachan, section, and shabad, poem numbers, have been given at the end of all three texts. While the line numbers in this English translation conform to the original Hindi, the line breaks do not. They have been inserted to make the poems easier to read in English. Blank lines have also been inserted to create verses, although there are no verse breaks in the original. The English verses were not formed according to any pattern, but were created as the subject matter or emphasis of a poem changed, or sometimes simply to break a longer text and make it more approachable. The Devanagari text and the Romanized Hindi imitate the spacing of the English, but those wishing to quote material from the Hindi or the English may ignore the line and verse breaks if they wish. A few of Swamiji's poems begin with a refrain, take, which is set apart from the main poem. Although most of the poems in Sarbachan Chandbandh were composed in Hindi, the three Persian ghazals from the original text have also been included in this selection. For the Persian poems, the accompanying text is a phonetic transliteration of the Persian. The final poem in the selection, "Everything my master has taught me is upside down," contains vivid and intricate similes and imagery. Because much of the imagery in this poem is deliberately unexpected and obscure, it is first given in its entirety, and then a line-by-line explanation of the images has been provided, as was done in the original edition. The poem was included to make the selection better representative of Swamiji's versatility. To help the reader with a correct understanding of the many unfamiliar terms used by Swamiji, all have been footnoted on their first occurrence. Footnotes are given in English only, but are asterisked in both the English translation and the Hindi transliteration. Footnotes begin on the left page and continue on to the right page as necessary. Since Swamiji often gives an overview of the inner spiritual journey, mentioning the landmarks and sometimes giving examples of characteristic experiences there. A summary of the inner regions, planes of existence, and stages of the final plane has been provided under the entry for Sachkhand in the glossary. In conclusion, all masters use external means, such as personal contact, satsang, and literature, to instill love, faith, and inspiration in the disciple's heart. Maharaj Savan Singh, the master at the Radha Swami Satsang Beas from 1903 till 1948, says that a true master is a living symbol of God's love for his creation. The master has a natural, loving disposition towards all, but his special love are the souls entrusted to him by the Lord for initiation into the mysteries of Shabad. Someone once said to Maharaj Charan Singh Ji that he was aware of his own love for the master, but wondered what the master's love for his disciples was like. Hazur replied that the love a disciple feels for the master is actually the love the master projects from his own heart. But for that, one would feel nothing for the master. In other words, love is an inner gift from the master, and it grows with the capacity of the disciple to absorb it through meditation. To the one at whose feet my days pass in peace and quiet, in whose remembrance my dreams blossom into reality, in whose forgiveness my heart finds solace, Maharaj Jagat Singh, my beloved master. Shiv Singh Dutt, Publications Department, June 2001.